ChatGPT is undoubtedly the most powerful tool that we have access to on the internet right now, and in this video I'm going to take you from a complete newbie to a ChatGPT prompting expert. Also, be sure to use the table of contents if you want to skip ahead or move around in the video, as all 52 ChatGPT prompts are organized down there. Okay guys, so we're going to be covering absolutely every step in this video, starting with the sign up process, but once again, keep in mind there is a table of contents down below where you can skip ahead at any point in time if you're already familiar with any of this. But if you're looking to access ChatGPT, you're going to want to start off by visiting chat.openai.com, and then you're going to begin the sign up process. Now, ChatGPT itself is free to use. They do offer ChatGPT Plus, which gives you access to GPT-4. The main perk there is that chatbot can in fact access the internet, but it's actually not as great as it sounds so far anyway from my firsthand experience. But like I said, at some point I am going to do a full video about GPT-4, so make sure you subscribe and hit the bell for when that comes out. But for now, if you already have an account, you're going to click on login, and if you don't, you're going to click on the green sign up button. From here, you simply enter your email to create a new account, or if you want to link a Google, Apple, or Microsoft account, you can do that as well. I already have a ChatGPT account, so now I'm going to go ahead and log in, but if you simply just create an account, you will be exactly where I am at in this video. You can also consider opening up a tab and using this while we're doing the video together, because you can follow along step by step and do all of these examples as I'm doing them, so you may want to consider doing that too. Okay guys, so as soon as you create an account, this is the screen you're going to see, and this is where you're going to be entering prompts into ChatGPT. Now, before we get to starting off with the prompts, I do want to give you a lay of the land and sort of talk about some of the limitations with ChatGPT and things you should be aware of as a power user. So first of all, right now ChatGPT is in research mode, which means they're trying to get as many people to use the tool as possible. So it does cost them money to run these different operations, but it's a cost that they're basically willing to spend in order to have people using the tool to improve the tool themselves on the back end. Just understand that it is a new tool, it's still in research mode, it can be finicky, and you shouldn't treat it like it's the dictionary, for example. And just to show this to you, I want to point out the disclaimer at the bottom of every chat window, and it says this is a free research preview, just like we were talking about. ChatGPT may produce inaccurate information about people, places, or facts. So research mode, check your facts, but other than that, it's a very powerful tool that tons of people are using, so let's keep going. So the first thing I want to mention here is the chat threads on the left-hand side. So once you start using ChatGPT, every time you start a new prompt here in this window, a new chat thread is going to be created. Now, these are actually super useful for a couple of reasons. You can use these to keep organized as well as store past prompts and basically workflows in ChatGPT that you have used before. So you can pretty much train ChatGPT in a chat thread to do a particular function for you, and then once you get it to do exactly what you want, you can simply change out those variables for the different variations you're looking for, and then keep that chat thread in place. That way you can reference it and use it at a later date. So I'm just going to click into a couple of my previous chat threads just so you guys can see a visual of this, but it is going to automatically name them something to do with your first input. But for example, we have Chihuahua shedding tips. This was for a recent YouTube video that I did. So this is stored right in here. But just to show you an example of how it remembers what we're talking about, I can go into an old chat thread and just say, tell me more, and click on enter, and it's going to talk to me more about Chihuahuas and shedding, even though this is a chat that's over 7 days old. But for now, we're going to go ahead and start off with a new chat window, and we're going to begin with some basic prompting. So what we're going to do, and this is something you're going to want to get used to doing as you're using ChatGPT, is navigate over to the new chat window. And the reason I'm saying that is because we just talked about how these chat threads have a memory in terms of the previous conversation. Well, what you may find is that if you're talking about horses, for example, and then all of a sudden you're looking for something totally unrelated and you begin asking in that same chat thread, it might still think you're talking about horses and bring the conversation back there. So it's sort of a good habit to get into, to basically start a new chat window every time you're looking to change the topic, because not only will you be able to revisit that if you need it, you're also making sure that you're not bringing in that past conversation into the new one you're looking to start. I'm going to ask ChatGPT to explain its knowledge cutoff to us, and then I'm going to tell you exactly what that means. So I just typed in, what is your knowledge cutoff? I'm going to click on enter. So ChatGPT has said, my knowledge cutoff is September 2021. This means that I'm not aware of events or developments that have occurred after that date. So this tells us about the data set that ChatGPT was trained on. It basically knows everything that happened before September 2021. But here's the thing, if you stick around to the end of this video, I have a trick for circumventing this. So if you are looking to get ChatGPT to reference current information, and you don't want to pay for GPT-4, you can still do it, so stick around till the end. Now, the cool thing about ChatGPT is it can actually give you instructions on itself. So I've typed out what prompts are you able to work with, and now I'm going to click on enter. But I just wanted to show you that if you are getting into this at a later date and you end up wondering, okay, what exactly can I do with this tool? Well, you can just enter simple prompts like this and get a refresher on the different prompts that you can do and all of the different functions within ChatGPT. So now we're going to move into the learning capabilities of ChatGPT. So the first prompt we're going to cover here is called a simple question. And this is where you ask ChatGPT a very simple question such as, what was Abraham Lincoln known for? So I typed that out. We're going to click on the green button here, or we can click on enter. Now, a few things I want to show you here. If you're getting a weird answer, you can click on stop generating immediately, because sometimes if you have stuff in the previous thread that's confusing it, or maybe your prompt itself misled the AI and you don't want it to continue, you can just click on that stop button. Or if you clicked on it by accident, you can then click on regenerate response, and now you're going to get another response. And the interesting thing is these responses will be different. So now we've been given a very thorough answer about what Abraham Lincoln was known for. And I also want to show you, because we did end up getting two responses, you can click up here to toggle back and forth between them. But truthfully, this is a pretty complicated answer. And let's say you were looking for an answer for the conclusion of your essay and you literally needed the answer in about 2 minutes. Well, let's move on to the next prompt, which is a simple question in simple terms. Now, this is also the perfect opportunity to show you how you can go up here to your prompt from before and click on this and simply change it. And that way you don't have to retype all of this stuff. So what we're going to do is take the first prompt and add as simply as possible to the end of it and see how that changes the response. So we're going to click on save and submit, and now it's going to generate a brand new response for us. Now this time it went from a mega paragraph to just about 3 sentences, and this is a very simple response. So the next prompt I'm going to show you is clarification, and this is where you can ask questions about what you're learning as you're going, and this is a huge differentiator here between ChatGPT and Google. And I'm just going to type in, why did he do that? And ask, why did Abraham Lincoln do all of these things in history? So just like that, we're getting the factual reasoning behind Abraham Lincoln's decisions over his lifetime and presidency. So the next prompt is going to be a complicated question. So we're moving out of Abraham Lincoln territory. This would be a perfect time to start a new chat window. And now we're going to source a complicated question from the internet. So I found this resource the other day of 57 difficult questions. We're going to pick one of these, bring it over to ChatGPT, and see how it handles it. So we are pasting in the difficult question. Is it true that the US needs to eliminate its national debt? Definitely a puzzler and one that's open for debate, but let's go ahead and see what ChatGPT thinks. So right off the bat, it's interesting here because ChatGPT is giving you a reminder about its information cutoff. So it starts off with, as of my last update in September 2021. So it will continue to remind you about that cutoff as you're using the tool. So as far as the answer goes here, it does share both sides of the argument. For example, you can see right here where it says some argue that borrowing money for critical investments elements like infrastructure, blah, blah, blah. It will show you both sides of the issue, and it is super helpful for any topic that's heavily debated like that. So next we have STEM, or science, technology, engineering, and math. You can use it for these types of problems, but for the sake of time, I'm just going to show you a simple math problem calculation in ChatGPT. So what I typed in here is solve the following equation for the unknown variable, and then I put in a simple algebra equation, and now we're going to go ahead and click on enter. So just like that, it's not only solving the equation, but it's giving you instructions on how to do this. So if you're ever stuck on your homework and you have a math problem that you can bring into ChatGPT, this can be super helpful in terms of tutoring. So just like that, we have our answer here where after solving for x, x would equal 14. The next prompt I want to show you here is learning a coding language. Now you can also use ChatGPT to write code, but that's going to come later on in this video when we get into the different things that ChatGPT can create for you, but you can still use it to learn code. So let me show you how to do that with a simple prompt. Now, ChatGPT is familiar with most of the major coding languages out there, but for example, Python is a very popular one. So my prompt here says, start teaching me Python, and then I'm going to go ahead and click on enter. And I think this response is truly going to blow your mind here. So it starts off by giving you instructions on how to locate and install Python, but then it's able to actually give you code and bring it up in a coding window, giving you, visual examples as you go, teaching you the coding language. And let's say you went through and completed all of these steps, and then you were looking for more tutorial steps from ChatGPT, you could simply use the prompt keep going at any time, and it's going to continue giving you more information about whatever you just talked about last. So if you wanted to learn a coding language for free, you could hop over to ChatGPT and do exactly this. Learn that, type keep going, learn that, type keep going, and then become an expert at that coding language in no time at all. The next prompt I'm going to show you is using ChatGPT as a study assistant. So for example, you can ask it to quiz you about a topic like American history. It's going to give you a list of questions, and then you can actually answer them and then ask for feedback on how you did if you do them in a numbered format. But what if you instead wanted multiple choice questions? Well, you can also do that with ChatGPT with slightly different prompting. So let me show you that now. So this time what I wrote is ask me a multiple choice question about the Civil War, and then after I answer, tell me if I am correct, and then I'm going to click on enter. So now we have a multiple choice question. Which battle is considered the turning point of the American Civil War? And then there are 4 different choices, A, B, C, and D. I'm not 100% sure here. Gettysburg sounds the most familiar, so I'm gonna say B. And let's see here. I was correct, so I actually got that one right. So, but anyway, that's how you can use ChatGPT for multiple choice questions. Now there's one final learning prompt I want to show you guys, which is the explain prompt. This is super helpful where if you have a big concept that you're looking to have explained, you can just say explain blank to me. So I've typed in explain gravity to me. I'm going to click on the green button here. So we're getting a pretty good explanation here about gravity. Once again, keep in mind that if you wanted a simpler explanation, you could ask for exactly that. So now we're going to move into the assist related prompts of ChatGPT and how you can turn this into your free virtual personal assistant. So the very first prompt I'm going to show you guys is list generation. This can be super helpful for so many different things, whether it's ideas or even content, no matter what. But the first list example I'm going to give you here is best side hustle ideas. You're typically going to get much better information here, and it's not going to necessarily have affiliate links and things like that. But you may also find that this is a bit too broad. So the next prompt is actually super helpful for that, and that's what I call curated list generation. So this is where you're going to ask ChatGPT for a list of something based on pretty specific criteria. So instead of just asking about side hustle ideas, we're going to ask about the best side hustle ideas for outdoor enthusiasts. So this is one of my favorite assistance tools for ChatGPT, is using it to get a list that just doesn't exist anywhere else out there. So the next assistance tool you can use ChatGPT for is responding to social media comments. So I'm going to go over to my YouTube channel, grab a recent comment, and what I wrote here is, please write me a response to this comment on my YouTube video. I'm gonna go ahead and paste it in. So this is giving us a really long response. This is definitely something where we're gonna wanna go in and edit our original prompt. So I'm gonna go ahead and go back up here and then ask for a very simple response instead of just a long form response. That will be a perfect response for a YouTube comment. The next prompt I'm gonna show you is responding to an email using ChatGPT. So I get a bunch of emails every single day about different brand promotions and things like that, and I generally don't respond to most of them, but I'm gonna jump over and grab a random email I've received, and we're gonna ask ChatGPT to write an email politely turning down the offer. Now you might notice that ChatGPT is running a little bit slow right now if you watch carefully, and you may find this is the case because once again we are still in a free research preview. So, and actually this was a really good example here of how we got a network error. So you may actually encounter these errors as you're using ChatGPT, and oftentimes all you have to do is click on the green regenerate response button. Another good troubleshooting tip is just starting in a new chat window if you're ever having any trouble. And it is a very good email here, politely turning down that offer. So if you were looking to respond to things in your inbox and do it at a much faster pace, use the different chat windows for different types of responses, and then just jump over here and paste in your emails and get things done much quicker. The next prompt idea is using it for captions. So you can use this to get ideas for social media captions for a post, for example. So what I've written out here is, give me 5 examples of Instagram captions for a beach photo in Miami. So just like that, we're getting 5 different examples of captions with some hashtags as well. So you could also ask it to make these more interesting, make them more relatable, and pretty much give it feedback on what it has given you, and it will change those and tweak those the way you want them. The next prompt you can use ChatGPT for is help with things such as a YouTube video title. Now there's a few prompts I'm going to show you here within this, but the first one is shorten this video title and make it more enticing. So I just copied a random video that was on my homepage. So this gave us a slightly different title variation. I don't know if it's that much shorter, but if you didn't like what it gave you, once again, you can regenerate the response, and this can be helpful for getting different ideas. This one is definitely shorter. You can also use it for video title ideas. So for example, I just asked it to give me 5 examples of titles for a video about house hacking. So if you were looking to just get ideas about titling videos or even optimizing titles, this is a super easy thing to do with ChatGPT. This next prompt is for getting metadata, which is things like tags for YouTube videos. It could also be hashtags for Instagram posts. Right now I'm asking ChatGPT for a comma-separated list of tags for a YouTube video, and we're going to say it's on Chihuahuas, and I'm going to say do not exceed 500 characters, as that is the character limit on YouTube. It definitely wasn't as many as I was looking for, but if I ask it to keep going, it will give me more tags. So knowing these different prompts is super helpful, because then you can oftentimes get ChatGPT to do exactly what you're looking to have it do. And then my next prompt here says, give me 10 hashtags for an Instagram post about Chihuahuas. If you're looking for tags, hashtags, metadata, ChatGPT is super helpful for that. The next prompt you can use ChatGPT for as an assistant is any type of templated document. So maybe it's a lease agreement, for example, or a privacy policy for a website. What we're asking for right now is a privacy policy for a website, dogs.com, and the business name Dogs LLC. You don't want to take something like this and assume it's completely factually correct. You know, this disclaimer down here is definitely there for a reason, so you don't want to be just thinking that, again, this is the dictionary and that everything here is fact. Now, the next thing you can do with ChatGPT is use it for analyzing a contract or legal document. So we're going to take that privacy policy that I just generated, and now we're going to ask ChatGPT to interpret it for us and tell us what exactly it means about our personal data. But if you were, for example, in a lease agreement and you were wondering, hey, can I get out of this lease? You could copy and paste that in and get answers to questions like that. So what I've typed out here is tell me what this site is doing with my personal data based on this privacy policy, and I'm going to paste in the privacy policy that we just generated. Now this is giving us a pretty complicated answer, so I'm going to stop generating it and we're going to ask it for a simple explanation instead of that long form explanation. So as you can see here, guys, it's now giving us a much simpler explanation about about what was covered in that privacy policy. If you're just trying to get a quick question out of a legal document, you can definitely use ChatGPT as your ultimate assistant for this. The next prompt that ChatGPT can do is find quotes that somebody has said, as long as they have a decent level of historical significance. So for example, I'm gonna ask ChatGPT to find us a quote that Warren Buffett said related to earning compound interest. It gave us a little bit of information about Buffett himself, and then it gave us one of his quotes right here. The greatest shortcoming of the human race is our inability to understand the exponential function, which compound interest does refer to exponential growth of money, so definitely that is related to compound interest. If you were doing any type of journalism or things like that and you needed to find a quote from somebody, you could use ChatGPT. Of course, you'd want to verify that quote, but it's a really good database for things like this. The next thing it can assist you with is recipes. So for example, what I just typed out here is give me a recipe for sweet potato fries with truffle oil. And so just like that, it's giving us a recipe here for exactly what we asked for, including the ingredients as well as instructions. Now, the next thing you can use it for is queries. So let's say, for example, you were a thumbnail graphic designer and you were reaching out to popular YouTube influencers. Well, what I've typed out here is I offer a thumbnail design service. Please write me a cold email to send to Graham Stephan, offering my services with relevant points about him included. So just like that, we have our cold email, and I did want to prove that it does have information related to Graham Stephan, because right here it mentions, I am genuinely impressed by your insightful content and expertise in the world of real estate investing. Obviously, Graham is very well known for his real estate investing content and strategies. This definitely nailed it in terms of this cold email. Now, the next prompt is using ChatGPT as an assistant for your resume, and I'm actually planning on doing an entire dedicated video just on this topic because there's so many powerful ways that you could use ChatGPT with your resume, cover letter, and just getting employed in general. So make sure you guys subscribe and hit the bell for that upcoming video because you're definitely not going to want to miss it. So what I typed out here for a random example is I worked at Walmart from 2015 to 2021 as a front-end supervisor before leaving on good terms for another job. Please write a description about this for my resume, and then we're going to click on enter. So now it gives you a fillable template where you can put your own information in. So you could pretty much build an entire resume right here. I mean, this is basically a resume, let's be honest here. You have education, skills, fill out your references. All you need here is a cover letter. So what we're gonna do is find a random job opportunity, and then we're going to copy and paste over the job description. And what I've written here as a prompt is, please write me a cover letter tailored to this specific job opportunity. So I just pasted in the job description for a cybersecurity related job. But let's go ahead and click enter and see what it gives us for a cover letter. Now, of course, you'd want to make sure that you were in fact qualified and had all of those requirements, which is of course a no-brainer because it is going to assume that you have all of those qualifications and then write your cover letter as such. So if you are applying for jobs, just doing a customized cover letter like this can really separate you from the other people out there because the majority of people are just not doing this yet. The next prompt is also related to careers, employment, that general realm. You can use ChatGPT to help you with job interview prep. So what I've written out here is I'm interviewing for a job as a security consultant for Microsoft. Ask me some mock interview questions. So at this point, you could work your way through this list of questions or even just kind of get ideas of how you would answer them mentally. And I'm telling you, just by doing something like this, you'd be way more prepared than somebody who did nothing at all in terms of interview prep. So the next thing you can use ChatGPT for is data manipulation and data cleanup. So this is one of my favorite things that you can do with ChatGPT. And we're actually going to start off by getting a list of 20 random names. That way I can use this for example sake. So now we have this list of 20 random names, but let's say, for example, you were entering names into a database and the format required was last name, comma, first name. But you can actually ask ChatGPT to fix this for you. So what I typed out here is change this list of names into the format last name, comma, first name. If you think about how long it might have taken somebody to do that if they were doing it manually, this is one of the areas where AI technologies can be pretty scary. The fact that you can do this within a chatbot for example, versus having to use a program or Microsoft Excel just blows my mind. But there's going to be one more thing we're going to do to manipulate this data, and I'm going to basically ask ChatGPT to now alphabetize this list of names. And now ChatGPT has taken the random list of names, reformatted it to last name, comma, first name, and then alphabetized that list. So maybe you were doing wedding invitations or I don't know what, but you know, there could be some scenario where you're looking to organize data, get things alphabetized, reformat things. You can do a lot of it right within ChatGPT. The next thing you can do is ask ChatGPT for Excel related formulas. So if you're looking to do something in Google Sheets or Microsoft Excel, you can literally just figure out the right way to ask the question to ChatGPT and it will give you the exact formula. What I've typed out here is write me an Excel formula that calculates the average of cells A2 to A7. It does return that, and it also does it right in this programming window. All you have to do is click on copy code. You could then bring that right over to Google Sheets or Microsoft Excel, and it will work in both places. The next prompt I'm going to show you is related to SEO or search engine optimization. You can use it to look at a competitor's article and identify the top keywords within that article. The prompt I've written out here is extract the top 10 keywords from this article, and I'm now going to copy this entire article here about the best air mattress in 2023, paste it in, and then it's going to give us our list of keywords. Even though this would have been a daunting task in other ways of handling it, this took no time at all. This massive article that we pasted in, we have now extracted the top 10 keywords, which are air mattress, king coil, luxury air mattress, comfort, inflation support, etc., etc. So if you were then working on an article yourself in this niche, you would want to work in a lot of these relevant keywords in your piece to make sure that, you know, you're covering all of the bases with your particular article. The next thing you can do is create marketing material. So anything that you're trying to create, it could be a flyer, a door hanger. You can ask ChatGPT to create these things for you. Now, obviously it can't go off to the print shop and make the designs, but it can definitely assist you in terms of creating the content for that. So this gives you a template here for a dog poop scooping service. You could copy this over and put your own information in it, or just use bits and pieces of it. Or you may also just use this to get ideas of what you may yourself plan on putting on your own flyer or things like that. So the next prompt here is to get feedback on your written work. So if you have anything like an essay or even an email that you're going to be sending out, whatever it is, if you have it written out, you can ask ChatGPT for feedback on it. So what I did is copied one of my video scripts for a vertical video I did, and I'm going to ask ChatGPT to critique this video script and suggest some potential improvements. So let's see what it tells us. It says the introduction, for example, is quite direct, but it could be more captivating. Consider starting with a question, intriguing statement, or relatable scenario to immediately hook the audience. So that's very solid advice. ChatGPT is great for this. The next thing you can do here with ChatGPT is get a summary generated of an article or really any large amount of text. So let's say, for example, you were looking at this article, pros and cons of doggy daycare, and it's a 4-minute read, but you really don't want to spend 4 minutes reading the entire article. You just want the gist of it. So I pasted that in and clicked enter, and now we are getting a summary generated of this. It's just the key points of the article. The prompt that I went with was summarize the key points in this article, and then I just pasted it right in. The next thing I'm going to show you is you can use ChatGPT to lengthen a particular passage. So what I did is I copied a random section from that article we were just looking at there about doggy daycare, and I'm going to now ask ChatGPT to lengthen that text. And now ChatGPT is going to take this and basically go into more detail. So it has pretty much tripled or quadrupled the amount of information here. So the next prompt with ChatGPT is translating a passage of text. And there's definitely other ways you can do this, but it is pretty handy to be able to do this right within ChatGPT. So I'm gonna ask it to translate this flyer that we just had generated into Spanish and show you guys the outcome. And just like that, it's now taking this passage that we had it manipulate and lengthen, and now it's translating that into Spanish for us. Now the next thing that I'm going to show you is that you can use ChatGPT to change sentences from passive voice to active voice, or possibly the other way around. So what I wrote in here is change this sentence from passive to active voice, and then I pasted in a passive voice sentence which reads, "The ball is being chased by the dog." So once I click enter, it's now restructuring the sentence. The dog is chasing the ball. That's now written in active voice, just like that. So if you were looking to change the structure of your sentences in a blog, or maybe it's just some type of professional document that you're writing, you could use it to identify passive voice and then also change passive voice just like this. So the next thing you can do is use ChatGPT to replace the same variable in a block of text. So let's say, for example, you have this passage right here talking about a company that had 5% growth in a given quarter, but let's say all of a sudden there had to be a correction made and that was now going to be 4%. Well, you could go in and change every single one of those manually, or you could use ChatGPT for this task. So what I've written out here is change all instances of 5% to 4% in the following passage, and then we're going to click on enter, and just like that, it changed all of those 5% to 4%. Now there's only 3 in this case, so maybe that's not a huge deal, but imagine if you had just written out a 30-page paper, and then at the very end you realized that one of your calculations had a rounding error and you had to change that percentage in 150 different places. Well, you could use ChatGPT and do that in no time at all, whereas it could take you hours to do it otherwise. The next assistant feature that ChatGPT is really good at is outlining. So if you're looking to do a ebook or a presentation or even a video, whatever you're trying to outline, this can be super helpful for that. So just for an example here, I have write me an outline for a documentary about teddy bears. I'm gonna click on enter, and then it's going to break this down section by section. So just like that, we have an outline for a documentary about teddy bears. Maybe I'll send this over to Netflix later. Probably not though, just because I don't know if anybody really cares about the origin of teddy bears that much, but if they did, well, you could easily put together a documentary on it using a ChatGPT outline to start off with. The next assistant feature here is related to helping you cook with whatever you have in your fridge. This has always been one of my favorite prompts because of just how applicable it is. So what I typed out here is I have eggs, broccoli, chicken, and cheese in my fridge. What can I make with this? And then when I click on enter, it says here a broccoli, chicken, and cheese frittata is one example. It then gives us a rundown of the ingredients. The next thing you can use ChatGPT for is troubleshooting, and I actually did this myself the other day because I was using my editing software Final Cut Pro, and I hit something on the keyboard and I had these slanted lines running across my timeline, and I had no idea how to fix this. I had been going on Google, clicking into links on forums, and I was not finding the answer, and I finally said maybe ChatGPT could help me with this. And in just a few seconds I had the answer about what I had done, as well as the steps on correcting this. So if you're troubleshooting anything with a software, or you come to a roadblock with a commonly used thing, you can typically use ChatGPT as your assistant in troubleshooting. Now, if you are in the dating world right now, you can also use ChatGPT as an assistant with openers there. I will say that these are not always the best, but they might be able to give you some ideas. But what I've written out here is give me 5 openers for a funny message to a girl who likes golden retrievers. I'm gonna pick the cringiest one and then I'll read it out loud. Honestly, the very first one seems to be the most cringy. It's asking if you believe in love at first woof. I mean, if you guys want to test this out, see if you get a response, why don't you let me know in the comment section below. It might be so cringy that you do get a response, and maybe this gives you an idea for a message that you wouldn't have sent otherwise. The next one is a fun one as well. If you guys remember the 20 questions game you could play, well, you can do the exact same thing with ChatGPT. You can ask ChatGPT to play 20 questions with you, and it starts a game of 20 questions explaining rules. So you can play games with the AI. And then the final prompt in this category of assistance with ChatGPT is recommendations. So I'm gonna give you guys a few examples of this, but let's say you're looking for gifts, for example, for somebody who has a particular interest. So what I typed out here is gift ideas for a Harry Potter superfan. Just like that, okay, it's giving us some advice here about complete book sets, the film collection, Wizarding World merchandise, interactive wands, and a lot of different options. Or maybe you're looking for book recommendations. It could be for yourself, it could be a gift as well, but it's also really good at that. So for example, I have best books for sailing. Now, once again, it is reminding us that anything that has been published since September 2021 won't be included, but you know, probably sailing books aren't published that often, so I think the information here would still be pretty good. So now we're gonna move on into the create section of prompts. This is my personal favorite. This is where you are having ChatGPT create things for you. I think you're gonna be amazed at just how many prompts we have in this category, so make sure you stick around for all of them. So the first thing we're gonna create here with ChatGPT is a tweet. So what I've written out here as a prompt is write me 5 tweets about the following piece of news. I then jumped over to this recent news article here about the Federal Reserve launching a FedNow instant payment service that could potentially bypass Venmo and PayPal. Okay, that could be pretty problematic for those payment providers or service providers. I'm going to paste in that headline, and it's going to give us some examples of potential tweets that we could run with if we were looking to cover that piece of news. So there you have 5 tweets with hashtags and emojis. You could then pick through those, grab the best one, maybe tweak a few things, and be up and running with a current events tweet in no time at all. The next creation prompt here is to write an entire blog article. What I wrote here is write me a short article about how to hire a moving company in Boston, Massachusetts. So maybe you were doing a local targeted SEO blog in Boston, Mass, and covering all of the different services, and then you were going to sell leads to these different service providers. So now I'm going to show you how to write an article about anything, even if it's brand new information. This is one of the most common problems people face with ChatGPT, is that they're looking to write about something where the information is more current. Maybe it came out last week or at least since 2021. So for example, we just covered that Federal Reserve payment service and how that could affect PayPal and Venmo. Well, if you just straight up ask ChatGPT that question, it's going to have no idea because it doesn't have the ability to surf the internet. But what you can actually do is give it reference material from the internet, and then it can use that reference material to structure the article. What I've written out here is please write me an article about, and again, is PayPal doomed because of the Federal Reserve instant payment service? And then I'm saying based on the following information. I then copied a couple of sections from that particular article just for reference material, and then I'm going to go ahead and let this run. And this is also a good teachable moment here, guys. My session did just expire, so I am going to have to log back in. You may have to do this yourself periodically. And it's now writing an article outline for us, or what you could then build off of related to exactly that. Now, of course, you would want to read both of these passages, making sure there's no plagiarism present, because it's not guaranteeing that, you know, it couldn't be copying over sentences or sections like that, but it really has expanded upon what we gave it in terms of we gave it, you know, 3 short paragraphs, and now we have a hashed out article. So if you were looking to cover something like a current event, you can give it that reference material. And one of the things I would also recommend doing is sourcing passages from multiple different articles, and that can also help with any plagiarism concerns. So the next thing you can do here with ChatGPT is use it to create a full-blown ebook. Now there's a few ways to go about this. You can just straight up ask it to write an ebook and then just keep prompting it with keep going. Or what I find to be a better method is asking it for the outline and then taking that outline and going section by section and asking ChatGPT to basically write that section for you. But just to demonstrate this, I've written, write me an ebook about Canadian timberland. Well, right now it's actually writing my outline. So once in a while, ChatGPT will get a little bit lazy. And so for example, I didn't ask for an outline, but it's giving me an outline probably because it's less work. But what you could do from here is then take these different sections Actually, sorry, I spoke too soon. It's now writing the ebook down below. It wrote the introduction for us anyway. So if you liked the way this looked and you wanted more, you could just type keep going. And now it's writing chapter 2 for you. So you would just have to keep prompting it like that as you go, and it could hash out this entire ebook for you, which you could then build off of for your own creative work. Now earlier I showed you guys how you can use ChatGPT to learn a coding language, but you can also use it to write coding. So just for an example of this, what we have here is write a Python script to open photo files and rename them to the size of the file. It's a pretty useless code that wouldn't really serve a purpose, but it will show us whether or not we can create code with ChatGPT. So just like that with ChatGPT, we've not only learned a coding language, but you can also write code with it. And you could use this to do your own coding for an app idea you might have yourself, or maybe you're doing paid freelance coding work and then leveraging ChatGPT in the process. You can also use ChatGPT to write a screenplay. For an example, I wrote, start writing me a screenplay about a furniture maker who invented a one-legged stool. This is now writing a screenplay for us about exactly that. If you're wondering why, you know, for example, the Hollywood actors and everybody are on strike over this technology, it's because it really does take a lot of the work that writers have done previously out of the equation. Now, the music industry is not safe from AI technologies either, because you can also use ChatGPT to write a song. So I asked it to write me a country song about catching frogs by a pond in Tennessee, and just like that, it's starting to write a song for us. Now, maybe this is not the best song in the world, but what you could do if you wanted to is to just regenerate the response and then keep regenerating responses, and then just keep clicking through the different versions to get ideas for a song that you yourself might potentially be writing. So now we have 2 versions of the song, and just like I showed you earlier, you can toggle back and forth between those different responses. Another example of creative writing that you can do with ChatGPT is poetry. So for example, I'm asking for it to write us a haiku about horses. I believe that's how it's pronounced. I haven't been in an English class in quite some time. And so it has accomplished this task for us. Another creation prompt for ChatGPT is you can ask it to write something in the style of a famous writer, for example. What I've typed out here is write me a bedtime story about trees in the style of Robert Frost. And then just by doing that, it's now writing in that exact style. Now, of course, it would have to be a well-known published author, for example, for it to do this. Now, the next prompt is another one you can use to kill some time, similar to playing 20 questions with ChatGPT. And that is the fact that you can have it write a choose your own adventure story about whatever topic you're interested in. So what I wrote here for a prompt is tell me a story about chihuahuas in space and let me choose different options about how it continues. And it's going to start writing this story for us about Chico and the cosmic adventure. And then it's giving me different options here about how that story continues. So from here, you could choose one of these different options of option 1, 2, or 3 and ask it to continue the story. The next prompt idea is having ChatGPT create jokes for you. So as mentioned earlier, you could have it write a joke in the style of a particular comedian, or you could be more direct and say something like write a pun. ChatGPT returned a pun right here for us. It says, why don't scientists trust atoms? Because they make up everything. Okay, so definitely pretty punny. On the comedic scale, you'd have to let me know if that's funny or not. It's probably somewhere in the middle, but you could definitely use it for research at the very least if you're having maybe writer's block with your, comedic routine. Just for another example here, I put write me a joke about dogs in the style of Kevin Hart, and I'm gonna see what it says for us here. And now it's actually writing something in the voice of Kevin Hart, so that's pretty impressive. So yeah, you can definitely use it for that type of task. And then the final creative prompt I'm going to show you is that you can use this to create comparisons of different things. So because ChatGPT has access to such a gigantic data set, it's really good at doing comparisons between 2 things. Now, there are some caveats to that. For example, if it's things that get updated over time, it's not going to have access to that current information. But if they're things that don't really change very often, it's very good at those comparisons. So just to give you an example here, I put write me an article about about FHA loans versus conventional mortgage, and now it's going to do exactly that for us. So one example of what we have done on my blogs is comparison content about, Robinhood versus Webull, for example. ChatGPT would struggle with that because it's only going to be able to write about the features that those had up until September 2021. You could definitely, as a workaround, bring in your own reference material about both of those apps. So that's one option for that. So just like that, you're now a ChatGPT expert because you know how to do all sorts of different things with ChatGPT in terms of improving personal efficiency, creating content, maybe even entertaining yourself with it in all sorts of different things. Now, I am planning some future videos around ChatGPT, such as ways to make money with ChatGPT, including a full tutorial on building an AI blog using ChatGPT for your content. I'm also going to be doing a video about ChatGPT 4 and what that paid tool can do for you above and beyond the basic ChatGPT plan. So you're not going to want to miss any of that. Make sure you subscribe and hit that bell right now so you're ready for those videos when they come out. The last thing I want to mention here, guys, is that I do have a book related to the side hustle journey, which is available in person at Barnes & Noble. It's also at libraries across the United States, and it's on Amazon, as well as an author-narrated copy over on Audible. From Side Hustle to Main Hustle to Millionaire is a step-by-step guide on how I launched my digital side hustles and basically grew my portfolio of online businesses. It also comes with access to a private Discord community via the secret link in the back of the book, so be sure to check that out if you have a copy so we can interact over there. Thanks so much for tuning in, guys. Don't forget, like, subscribe, bell, and I'll see you next time.